morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're listening in the world to this podcast today. My name's Paul Webb. I am the founder of B2B Energy, and you are listening to Energy Speaks Back. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 12 of Energy Speaks Back. Weekly, I present to you experts from around the world, and today it is Australia. Our subject today will be, is our renewable industry recyclable? Our objectives are for energy experts to have a good understanding of technology which is available today to deliver savings that impact on our world. Today, I'm joined by our first doctor, who is an expert in his field. He is internationally awarded, a winning scientist that was selected as Australia's most innovative engineer in 2020. His work focuses on sustainability of materials. So, without any further ado, I give you Dr Farshid Pahlevani. Good morning. It's good evening for Dr. Farshid. And how are you today?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Paul, for inviting me to this podcast. I'm very excited.
Yes, I'm very excited as well because as we spoke off air, that you're the first person I've interviewed that I've never actually met, but I know and see you every day. It's as if I know you through social media. So, Dr. Farshid, tell us about yourself, and I'd be very keen to know a little bit more about yourself as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm a research scientist, and my study and education was about the material engineering. And now is almost near to 2 decades that I'm working on the sustainable area. I know the material and I know how the material is working, but then I'm obsessed with that, why we are wasting so much material. That's why I changed my research direction and the work that I'm doing mostly on this area to see how we can recover waste material and use it as a resources. So for this aim was that I've done my PhD in this area. I work in Japan, in Singapore. Now I'm in Australia, in Sydney, and I'm working in this area and helping other companies to turn their waste into the profit. And that's my mission for this work.
And what sort of materials are you're looking to focus on?
So we are basically looking on the waste material which is difficult to recycle. Some of the waste material, for example, waste plastic or PET bottles. Waste plastic, when I mention, is for example, clean waste plastic. For example, PET bottles. You can recycle them back to the plastic. So we consider as a easy recycling. But some of the waste, like electronic waste, or like, for example, solar panels, or like the textile, they are difficult to recycle. Basically, they don't have a solution for recycling of these. That's why they are going to the landfill or is going to the waste to energy solution. So I'm focusing on those areas, and we are creating a new solution for these waste to turn them into the product that we can, for example, sell it, get profit out of it, or we can use it as a resource in other manufacturing. So in simple terms, we are not, for example, we don't take the plastic and turn it back to the plastic. That's already done, already the research has been done, and already the solution is there. We are taking those waste, which is very complex, and reform them and produce a product, or take it into for example, as a resource for other manufacturing. So it's a kind of the circular economy, not closed loop.
Yes, I read about that this morning. You posted about the circular economy, and it's very intriguing. I think people take it for granted that so in the UK, we have a black bag and we have a pink bag. The pink bag is all the recycle. But I think if you was to analyze what is in that pink bag, not 100% of that can be recycled. And I think people don't realize that there isn't a recyclable product. And this is where you're coming from, isn't it? It's taking that non-recyclable, even though we think it's recyclable, and making it into something else.
Yes, exactly. And one thing before I go through that and how we're doing, most even in Australia, for example, we have the red bin and yellow bin. So we put all the recyclable in one bin. But when it's actually going to the waste management companies, they are not recycle them. One of the reason is, for example, in Australia, waste glass, we wash all the glass bottles, we put it there with care, and it go there. They even separate these glasses. But all of them is smashed into the small powder kind of the form. They pile up in the some area on the land. The reason is, if we import virgin glass to Australia, it's become much cheaper than recycling the waste glass.
Right.
So that's why there is no recycling of the waste. Basically, there is a small percentage of the waste glass is recycling, but the huge amount of these waste is actually piling up. So my work is coming in that way. Why these things is happening? Because the recycling is not profitable process. So you can buy the virgin material much cheaper than recycling the material.
Yeah.
So now, if we can make product or we can make this recycling approach profitable, then why they don't recycle? They go for this recycling. And that's why my work is come. That's why I mentioned that we can turn waste into the profit, because we are creating a solution that for the companies that are dealing with this waste, they are actually making money. So when they are making money, we are actually helping them to do the recycling instead of we put the legislation, instead of, for example, there was a kind of the push for recycling. We are creating a pool for these waste. And that's where my work is coming.
And you're particularly focusing on this in Australia. Now, are other countries focusing on this economy as well?
Yes, so we are actually, most of the work that we do, we are, of course try it in the Australia first. And then for different companies from different area, for example, we have worked with the companies in Japan, in Singapore, we done work in the UK, even with one of the companies, and we are basically going to work with another one in next year. So then the solution is created. And when we demonstrate that this solution is actually working, then there are different people that is coming and we talking to them and they are taking it up.
And then, so we always like these things. I always look at the chain of events. So, what if you do all this work and then we have an issue where we've got no more input coming in? So that the original bad plastic, as if we could call it, runs out because we've actually managed that out, or will we never ever remove that bad plastic out of our world?
No, we actually, we can remove the bad plastic, but that plastic or that material, we can keep it in the loop. For example, we can turn that glass or plastic to a product, but
Right.
that product itself has an end of the life. When it's reached to the end of the life, it can come back again to the system.
Yeah.
So we are, because one aspect that normally people don't pay attention to it is, when a product reaches to the end of the life, it's actually the product for that particular usage reached to the end of the life. But the material itself is a good material. So we
Yeah.
can reuse that material. For example, if the plastic, for example, a food container or a coffee cups, for example, single-use coffee cup, when we drink the coffee, is reached to the end of the life. But the material itself is perfectly fine. It has the highest strength, it has all the property. So if we find a way to reuse that material in other application, then we can keep it in the economy. Then when that other application again reach to the end of the life, we can again bring it back to another form and reuse it. So the material, we can keep it into the system, just the form of it is changed. So it's come from, for example, coffee cup reach to the product for furniture, from furniture come to the something for example, flooring, and it can just change its application.
Now, we talked offline regarding the the renewable industry regarding solar panels, and I'm presuming we're talking the windmill element of it. So when they come to their end of their life cycle, which could be 20 years, maybe more, at the moment, there's no solution for them. Is that what you're telling me as well?
Yes.
That there's no solution for them. So what you're working on is a solution to make them more recyclable as well.
Yes. So renewable energy is very good. So it's actually in every aspect that we look at it is perfect. But similar to other new technology that we developed over the years, for example, as an electronic product, computer, mobile phones, we developed this product without thinking about their end of the life. So solar panels is a very good technology that we developed, but it's not recyclable because you cannot separate them. You cannot separate easily the glass, the background, the metallic component. And that's a huge challenge. Maybe now we don't see this as a challenge because there is not much of these waste is coming, but it is, we call it as an emerging challenge.
Yeah.
For example, in Australia, we are very, very big on the solar panels. So we have a lot of solar farms and a lot of renewable energy one. But now when we talk to different councils and different waste management companies, one of the things that they are seeing is that these broken solar panels or those very old version of them, they are coming to the waste. So they are seeing it as a challenge because you cannot, there is no solution for these solar panels at this moment, which can turn them or, for example, deal with them economically. There are, for example, some of the area that they can smash it, separated things, but the cost is so high that you have to actually spend money on those recycling. And when that's the case, it's cheaper to send it to the landfill, or it's cheaper to consider it as a waste material. So we are working on those areas because when these energy, these solar panels, these windmills is uptaking and going higher and higher, then a lot of these waste is coming into the stream. And if we don't have solution for that, we are losing a lot of material. So solar panels has glass, silver, silicon, which is very expensive material in the industry. And there is a lot of care to produce this product because you need that efficiency. But when it's reached to the end of the life, then there is no solution. Everything is going to the landfill. And we are working on that to make sure that we can capture these perfect material, bring it back to the economy.
Is there any predictions regarding when we're going to start having these issues regarding the recycling, or do you think you'll be ahead of that curve?
I think we are working on it, but I think the issue will come much faster than we think. For example, in one of the region that we are working with one of the councils in Australia, which called as a Wagga Wagga. So that area has a lot of solar farms. And in those areas, they are seeing the number of solar panels increase, and they are predicting that in next 2 years, they have huge amount of these pileups of the solar panels. So I think if in next 1 or 2 years, we don't create the solution for that, then at least in some region which you have a lot of solar farms, we are facing this challenge hugely.
Yeah. And we're talking about solar farms, solar, we're talking about windmills. What about batteries? Now, that has always been, as far, ever since I was young, batteries and disposal of batteries has always been a very different and emerging, it's never not been an emerging issue, really, regarding how we dispose of batteries. And is there a solution for that?
No, that batteries also is a very challenging part. So there are a few companies around the world, some of them in UK, I think UK, Germany, South Korea, they are working on that area. And one of the issue is normally when they call it the battery as a recycling the battery, they take it, they disassemble it. There are a metallic component, which of course it can be recycled, but the rest, they smash everything together and they call it as a black mass. So that black mass is actually, there is no solution to it which is economically viable. There are few companies, as I mentioned, there are few companies that take them, and by dissoluting them into the acid, they can remove the material and treat them. But the cost of that process and the waste they are generating, because they are generating a lot of liquid waste like the acid or other material, it's so high that it cannot go everywhere in the country. For example, in Australia, we don't have any solution for that. Till the last 2 years, till I think 2019, all of their batteries, most of our batteries is exported. So they just ship it outside the country. Then they put it the ban on the sending this material out, and now a few companies are starting to disassembling them, removing the material. But still, there is no solution on that black powder which has a lot of element inside. And some of our colleagues here they are working with these companies to extract the valuable material from them. You know, we call these material as a waste and as a toxic waste, but they have a very expensive and very good element and material inside. They have the lithium, they have chromium, they have all these elements which is highly needed nowadays in the economy because of all the electric cars, all the batteries. But at the same time, we don't care to that. We go and mine the material, for example, mining the lithium, which is very difficult, very expensive process. And after 10 years, for example, the battery in the car, they just discard it and all those lithiums go again to the waste. So if we can capture that, then we benefit the companies from the cost aspect of it. And at the same time, we can benefit the environment because there is not so much of the carbon dioxide emission, waste generation, and all of these activities.
One thing that's sort of coming to mind at the moment is that I'm 57 in a couple of weeks' time, actually. So I'm looking forward to my 57th birthday. No, so 57 in a couple of weeks' time. So what I'm trying to say is that for many years of my life, recycling hasn't been a part of my life. So when I was younger, so what my question is, this is a new thing. This is, people have been trained on this now. We've got scientists in this subject. When did that all start? When did we start really focusing on our waste in this world? Do you know that?
I think that there is a thing. When, for example, a few years or a couple of decades back, there wasn't so much of the waste. Because, for example, all the milks, they come into the glass bottles, we drank the milk, then it's go washed away, again reuse it. All the bottles, there wasn't a plastic bottle in this massive usage that nowadays everywhere you see the plastic. So all the, for example, clothing, majority of them come from the natural fibers at that time, but now all of them is the polymeric one. So hugely the amount of the waste is increased. That's one of the issues. But at the same time, because at that time, we didn't recognize that we are damaging the environment to this point. Now, everywhere you can see that this damage area, and you can see there is a, for example, if you go to the beach, there is a waste there. If you go anywhere you can, even in some places in Australia, that very beautiful park and things I go, I see the small plastic here and there. So you can't go in a place that you don't see a waste material. So we are reaching to the critical point. And at the same time, I think the good thing is now, because of the media, because of all the internet, all the things that people are speaking about, everybody has become cautious about these waste. So it's a very good time for us. It's a very good time that if we create a solution for that, then there is a massive uptake, because every company not only care about their environment, but also they're caring about how people see them. Because if they say to the people that we are recycling our waste, or we are turning this material to that, then the people look at them differently. They buy their product differently. So I think that's one of the reasons. If I can sum it up, is basically at that time we didn't have that much of waste, but
Yeah.
at the same time the people wasn't cautious about that. And now because the people is cautious, then every company put money in that, and there is more research, more drive for these recycling and sustainability.
It's amazing the word plastic. That I've been watching some YouTube videos regarding the significant waste that's been found on beaches, which is, in India, it's been amazing. And then they've actually run some filters through the sea, and they've been putting out micro elements of plastic, which is obviously getting into the fish and into seafood, and we're eating that, and that's going into our system. Now we can't digest that, so
Yes.
it's going to affect the whole of the human race.
Yes, and just give you a very shocking news. A few months back, the researches came out and showed that on average, every person, they are eating one equivalent to one credit card of the of the plastic every month. So we are actually eating plastic now, and the
Yeah.
plastic is coming everywhere. So we don't have a solution for that. Then I think everybody, or health and everything will be affected.
And we can't necessarily digest that, can we? Unless it is digested as part of the food.
Yeah, it's just stay in the system, or if we are lucky, it's just discarded from our system. But we cannot digest that. It's similar to that.
So I noticed you've got a few accolades. So you've got an accolade this year, I believe, in Australia. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this year, basically, I was awarded as the most innovative engineer of the year in Australia, which was very exciting for me and very good things, because I'm doing a lot of different projects. As I mentioned, that we are creating a new solution for that. And it was my honor to be recognized by the Engineer Australia as one of the most innovative engineer of the year.
Brilliant. And have you got any particular projects that they recognized you for that you've achieved?
So, yeah, this particular project, we call it as a waste to taste. So we are actually helping the farmers and helping for example, the farmers to take their waste or take the organic waste, turn it to the phosphorus-based fertilizer, which can be used again in the same farm. Because for example, one of the facts about the phosphorus is that more than 80% of the phosphorus in the world is produced by one country, and they can control the market. In 2008, the price of the phosphorus fertilizer increased 800 times, which shows that effect. So that's why, and countries like Australia, because we are naturally, our soil is depleted by phosphorus. So we need the phosphorus fertilizer to grow food. And if we don't have the phosphorus fertilizer, we can actually produce half the amount of the food that we are producing now in the world. So it's very critical issue. So that's why we are helping them to reuse that. Because, for example, all the organic waste, they are containing phosphorus, because all the food waste, all the crop waste, everything, all the animal, all the plant, everything has the phosphorus inside. So instead of those going to the landfill or burning it as energy, so we are helping them to capture that phosphorus and again reuse it in the farms.
Right. So, Dr. Farshid, I always like to sort of start slowing the podcast down by getting you to seek the audience and our listeners really to what we could be making a difference to. So, how can we all be helping your science as such?
Yeah, I think I always like to put a challenge for everybody who are listening to this. And the challenge is, next time when you are going to put something into your rubbish bin, either is a plastic product, anything, or if you want to discard anything, just pause for 1 second and have a look at that, and ask this question: that is there any other approach to that we can keep this material into the economy, or there is only solution, the only solution is to discard it into the bin? And if there is another solution, take that and do that. Because, for example, for us, the easiest way is to put everything into the rubbish bin. But sometimes if we, for example, collect them, for example, clean them or things and take it to the recycling station, then for them it's easier to recycle them. Or for example, if the batteries, electronic waste and things, we just, for example, keep it in our drawer or just put it, for example, into the normal bin, then there is no capturing of that. But if we understand that the company that actually legitimately they are recycling, then take it to there and they recycle it, then we are helping in that. So each of us, we can help by just helping in this supply chain, in this approach, that instead of putting everything in one bin, just send it and then they separate them and recycle it or not, we can take that approach.
That's brilliant. And I try to do that myself, but I think that's very good advice for everyone. If everyone was to do that, I think that would really start to make a difference to the world today. So Dr. Farshid, thank you very much. And thank you for arranging this time today. So I didn't really have to have a total out of experience with yourself. So I could just get up normal time. So I really appreciate you coming along today. Thank you for sparing your time. It's been really great to physically meet you. I am coming to Australia next year. So I will be looking to obviously meet with you face to face. So thank you very much for your time today, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for sure. Let me know when you're coming to Australia, because I'd love to see you and we discuss more about that.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. You take care, yeah?
Thank you for joining me today on this podcast, and thank you for my special guest. Please go and check out our website on www.b2benergy.co.uk, where you can see many more insights to how you can manage that third largest expense. Thank you. That just leaves me for one more thing to say. Be safe.